A very good evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Savindri Jayawardena. Let's look at the top stories for the day. Sri Lanka and Cambodia signed 2 agreements during President Maithripala Sirisena's 4-day visit to Cambodia. Government is planning talks with India to relax a minimum import price for pepper, Minister Dayagamage says. News in detail. Upon the 4-day state visit to Cambodia by President Maithripala Sirisena and his delegation, Sri Lanka and Cambodia signed 2 agreements today at the Peace Palace in order to strengthen diplomatic and economic relations between the countries. On an invitation extended by the government of Cambodia, President Maithripala Sirisena and his delegation, including the State Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vasantha Senanayake, commenced a 4-day official visit to Cambodia yesterday. Accordingly, President Sirisena and First Lady Jayantha Sirisena met with the Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni at the Royal Palace. Moreover, Sri Lanka and Cambodia signed 2 agreements today at the Peace Palace in order to strengthen diplomatic and economic cooperation. MOUs on political consultation between the 2 foreign ministries and between chambers of commerce of both countries were also signed today. Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena and State Minister of Foreign Affairs Vasantha Senanayake attend the inauguration of the business forum organized by the Cambodian Chamber of Commerce last evening. Addressing the business forum, State Minister Vasantha Senanayake highlighted that both countries should collaborate in the service sector.
Moreover, there is great opportunity to collaborate in the service sector of the 2 countries. Private sector companies in Sri Lanka have acquired tremendous experience in infrastructure projects and consultancy businesses. With development projects already undertaken in Sri Lanka, they are now in a position to contribute to the infrastructure development sector directly. Excellencies, I'm aware that consultancy companies of Sri Lanka have already started working in Cambodia on many projects in sectors of roads and highways, water supply and sanitation, irrigation and agriculture, and civil engineering infrastructure. I'm confident that our business delegation representing both product and service sectors will be able to enhance their trade links with their Cambodian counterparts. In this context, we find this coming together both useful and productive. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, therefore, to have increased bilateral interaction.
Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa will officially take the leadership of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Party at its first convention of the party. This was announced by the national organizer of SLPP, Basil Rajapaksa, at a media briefing held today. The national organizer of SLPP, Basil Rajapaksa, stated that the first convention of the party will be held on the 11th of this month at 3 p.m. at the Sukatadasa Stadium. Up until now, there was no official leader for the party and the leader will be officially announced on that day. The national organizer of SLPP, Basil Rajapaksa, went on to state that the presidential candidate representing the party for the forthcoming presidential election will be announced on that day. The SLPP national organizer also said that their presidential candidate will restore democracy and national security in Sri Lanka if he or she becomes the next president. Meanwhile, the chairman of the SLPP, Professor G.L. Piris, states that there's a state of anarchy right now in the country and the current government cannot solve the grassroots problems of the country.
If you look at the political situation in our country at this moment, I don't think there can be any doubt whatsoever that what we are facing is a complete breakdown of governance. Today, there is no government in this country. There is a state of anarchy. That is the first and fundamental problem that the people of Sri Lanka have to grapple with at this time. The total absence of any effective functioning government in this country. There is no government. We have never seen a situation where there has been this degree of internal dissension. Several governments within a government. Absolute bitterness, rancor, acrimony. It is a government that is not coherent. It is a government that is at war with itself. So you have incompatible policies. You have very acrimonious personal antagonisms. Now, the result of all this is that the government is not able to implement any policy whatsoever, because what is recommended by one part of the government is immediately thwarted, obstructed, and stultified by the other. So the problems of the country are increasing by the day. There's no solution. There's no government that is able to address those problems and come up with practical remedies which are implemented at the grassroots level.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka is now accepting applications for its 55th Annual Report Awards competition from business organizations striving for honors in financial reporting. This was announced at a media briefing held at Colombo on Tuesday. The Annual Report Awards competition organized by CA Sri Lanka has been recognized as an important corporate level competition which promotes transparency, accountability, social responsibility, and corporate governance among the country's diverse business sector. The competition is open to big and small companies ranging from conglomerates, multinationals to small-time community groups as well as NGOs and even SMEs which produce annual reports, and the last day of accepting applications will be 31st of this month. The best annual report will be recognized as the overall winner, while companies will also be awarded under 25 sectors ranging from banking, finance, insurance, diversified holdings, manufacturing companies, food and beverages, etc. Addressing the event, Chairman of the Annual Report Awards Committee, Heshina Kurupu, said that the endeavor is purely to appreciate the numerous efforts taken by the corporate sector to thrive in a competitive environment. Stay tuned for more news after this break. Welcome back after the break. Minister of Primary Industries and Social Empowerment, Daya Gamage, mentions that there is a 39% growth in the export sector even though 14 districts face severe droughts and 11 districts face floods over the past 3 years. Thus, Minister informed on the current and future programs under his ministry at a media briefing held at the Government Information Department yesterday. Addressing the media briefing, Minister highlighted that through the project of empowering 1 million women, the ministry has already assisted more than 3,50,000 women. He also mentioned that there is a 39% growth in the export sector even though 14 districts face severe droughts and 11 districts face floods over the past 3 years. Minister said that he initiated the national program of establishing 5,000 export program villages under the agriculture sector modernization project to promote the primary products of the farmers through an integrated process of value addition to suit the export market. Minister reiterated that some of the main objectives of the agriculture sector modernization project are identifying modern agricultural techniques and new marketing practices for farmer organizations, increasing the country's GDP, productivity improvement, production of goods according to standards, and increasing export competitiveness and enter the foreign market. Commenting on the future programs, Minister also emphasized that his ministry intends to take measures to launch a drug prevention program, especially aiming the youngsters who are addicted to the drugs. Meanwhile, Primary Industries Minister Daya Gamage also says that the government is planning talks with India to relax a minimum import price for pepper, a non-tariff barrier erected by India which was slashed exports of the spice by Sri Lanka. India slapped a $7,700 minimum import price per ton of Sri Lankan pepper in December 2017 after Indian traders had apparently started to route the spice via Colombo using its entrepot facilities, falsely declaring the product as being from the island better value addition. Sri Lankan pepper is allowed to be exported to India at zero duty for up to 2,500 tons under the Indo-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, and any exports above the limit are subject to an 8% preferential duty under the SAFTA. Customs duties on pepper imports to India stand at 70%. According to the International Trade Center, in 2017, pepper exports to India were 63.7 million US dollars, or 75% of total Sri Lankan pepper exports. The re-exportation of pepper from Sri Lanka was banned after India's allegations, while Sri Lanka's exports were subjected to more stringent customs checks. Minister Dayagamage, addressing the media in Colombo last evening, said that he will be travelling to India within 2 weeks' time together with 2 members of the Spice Council to meet India's Minister of Agriculture. The Institute of National Security Studies Sri Lanka conducted another session of its lecture series on fallen war heroes during the 30-year-long civil war with the LTT terror outfit. The lecture titled The Epic of the War Hero Colonel A.F. Lafir was delivered Brigadier Harendra Parakram Ranasinghe. The lecture this year was conducted on late Colonel Fazil Lafir, the commanding officer of the 1st Special Forces Regiment of the Sri Lanka Army, who laid down his life leading a daring operation to relieve the besieged Mullaitivu Army base on the 18th of July in 1996. The late Colonel Lafir, volunteering to lead the rescue mission, was airdropped under heavy enemy fire, and he was severely wounded during the operation but continued to lead his men, but later sacrificed his life due to an explosion in the battleground. His courageous act on that day to save the lives of 1,500 comrades, and he was awarded the Paramavira Vibhushana, the highest award for valor in Sri Lanka, and posthumously promoted to the rank of colonel. The lecture program commenced with the observing of a moment of silence in memory of all fallen war heroes, which was followed by a video presentation on the late Colonel Lafir. The message of the Secretary Defence was read by the Coordinating Secretary and Advisor to the Secretary Defence, Suren Dayaratne. Mrs. Anoma Lafir, Director General of the Institute of National Security Studies, Asanga Abegunasekara, Senior Tri-Forces officers, including the Army Chief of Staff, Major General Shavendra Silva, and Air Force Chief of Staff, Air Vice Marshal S.K. Patirana, Commandant of the STF Senior DIG M. R. Latif, and special invitees were present at the occasion.
Served in many parts of the country, including North and East, to eradicate terrorism. Having identified the talents of this young officer, the commanding officer of 1st Gajaba Regiment turned down his request to join the commandos. Later, due to his inborn capabilities and language proficiency of Tamil, he was attached to the Army Intelligence Unit, which was functioning at Security Forces Headquarters, Jaffna, where the 1st Gajaba Regiment was also deployed in the same headquarters. Later, the Army Intelligence Unit was absorbed into the newly established National Intelligence Bureau, and one era of Lieutenant Lafir ended up there. Thereafter, he changed his existing career into a different mode by approaching for new concepts and strategies. He was the first young officer to be volunteered to establish the path of special forces in our army.
Stay tuned for stock updates after this break. Welcome back. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 11.42 points to close at 5,878.26, and the S&P SL20 dropped 12.31 points to close at 2,885.79. The turnover was 468 million rupees and over 32 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex trades. That's all news for today. Do join us tomorrow with State of Business on our television. Until then, take care. Good night.